The movie kicks off on a remote, deserted island where a group of mafia members is hiding their stash of drugs. However, the police catch wind of the location and begin heading to the island to crack down on the illegal operation. When the island's locals learn about the impending raid, panic sets in. In a desperate attempt to avoid getting caught, the mafias dump all the drugs into the nearby river. This reckless act triggers an unexpected and horrifying chain reaction. The toxic substances contaminate the water, mutating the island's crocodiles into monstrous, deadly creatures. From that day forward, chaos begins to unfold on the island, known as Bayou. These mutated crocodiles start attacking and devouring people, even venturing far beyond the riverbanks in search of prey, posing a growing threat to nearby regions. Among them, one stands out as the most fearsome, a crocodile with a distinct black mark on its face, regarded as the queen of the monsters. Meanwhile, we're introduced to the film's protagonist, Kale, who is in a biology class learning about crocodile behavior and hunting instincts. We find out that Kale recently lost her brother, the only family she had left. Before dying, his final wish was for his ashes to be scattered in the river on an island, none other than the now infamous Bayou. Kale discusses this with her close friend, and together they decide to fulfill her brother's wish, unaware of the full danger that awaits. Her friend invites 2 more companions to join them, which leaves Kale feeling uneasy. The group sets off, and upon reaching halfway to the island, they're informed that the rest of the journey must be completed by private plane. At a local store, while Kale stops for water, a newspaper headline catches her eye, a warning that the crocodile threat is still very real. An old man at the store laughs and warns her specifically to avoid the one with the black mark, but Kale brushes off his comment. Soon, they arrive at the private airstrip, where the pilot admits there's an issue with the plane, but assures them the flight should be smooth. During the flight, a businessman refuses to hang up his phone despite repeated warnings. When an elderly man tries to snatch the phone away in frustration, the plane is suddenly jolted by a violent shock. Emergency alarms blare. Something has gone terribly wrong. Before anyone can react, the plane crashes into the river below. Miraculously, all but one of the passengers survive. The group manages to swim to shore, only to find themselves stranded on an unknown island, unaware that they've just stepped foot on a nightmare-filled bayou. One of the girls had a severely injured arm. The pilot quickly wrapped a bandage around it. But then he realized something was wrong. His co-pilot still hadn't surfaced from the water. Concerned, they all began searching the area, and then the pilot spotted him. The co-pilot was still struggling in the water, unable to get out. Without hesitation, the pilot dove in to rescue him. But just as he approached, a massive crocodile surged from behind and clamped its jaws around the co-pilot, swallowing half of his body in a single bite. The pilot barely escaped and rushed back to shore. The others were in shock. It was the first time they had seen a human killed right before their eyes, and it left everyone shaken and terrified. Meanwhile, Kale's friend had gone off to explore the island and stumbled upon a nest of crocodile eggs. Knowing that crocodile eggs from this island were worth a fortune, greed took over. She quietly hid them in her bag without telling anyone. Back at the camp, the group was still traumatized by the attack. The pilot explained that the crocodiles on this island had become unusually aggressive in recent years. In the past, they only emerged when hungry. Now, they hunted anything that moved, simply for the kill. Kale, who had some experience as a biologist, understood how to handle survival situations. So the group naturally looked to her for leadership. She warned them, "We need to reach higher ground before nightfall. Once it's dark, those creatures won't spare us." Most of the group agreed to follow Kale, except for one girl who resented her authority and tried to convince the others to listen to her instead. As they moved cautiously through the forest, the sense of danger grew. Kale eventually told everyone to stop and instructed one of the men to build a fire. The flames, she explained, would help keep predators away. They also decided to take turns keeping watch in shifts so everyone could rest safely. As midnight passed, it was the businessman's turn to stand guard. Obsessed with his finances, he couldn't stop thinking about his company. Ignoring the risks, he wandered off with his phone, trying to find a signal. Venturing into the bushes, He didn't realize a crocodile was already lurking there. As soon as he stepped too close, it lunged, grabbed him, and dragged him into its jaws, leaving him to die in agony. By morning, the group discovered his body. To their horror, the crocodile hadn't eaten him, just killed him. This was unusual behavior, as crocodiles typically devoured their prey. That's when Cale made a chilling observation. These crocodiles aren't hunting for food anymore. They're killing out of pure rage. The crocodiles weren't hunting out of hunger anymore. Their appetites were already satisfied. They simply wanted to kill. Cale soon spotted a small cabin in the distance and urged the group to head there for shelter. Hoping to stay out of sight from the mutant predators, they carefully made their way toward it, planning their next move as they walked. But just as they neared the cabin, Cale suddenly stopped them. She had spotted 3 crocodiles lying in wait up ahead. She quietly signaled everyone to step back, urging caution. But the same girl who refused to accept Cale as the leader ignored her warning and kept moving forward. In an instant, one of the crocodiles lunged and attacked her, killing her on the spot. The others quickly turned and ran for the cabin as the remaining crocodiles began chasing them. The group barely made it to the door in time. One of the crocodiles managed to grab the injured girl, the same one hurt in the plane crash, by the leg. With all their strength, the others pulled her in and slammed the cabin door shut just as the crocodiles reached it. Bloodlust burned in the creature's eyes as they rammed the door, but the group held it shut together, narrowly surviving the assault. Inside, the injured girl was in bad shape. She needed urgent heat treatment, something only available through proper medical care. But going outside before daylight was suicidal. The group had no choice but to wait for morning and hope they could last through the night. At dawn, one of the boys woke Cale. He had found a map in the cabin and, after studying it, realized there was a building marked not far from their location. He believed it might contain a radio or something they could use to call for help. Cale agreed and told everyone they should head for that building. But one of Cale's friends, the same one who had come with her from the beginning, lashed out at her in front of the group. "Why should we follow her?" she snapped. "Her brother died because of her. How do you expect her to save us?" The comment devastated Cale, but before she could respond, the pilot stepped in. He scolded the girl harshly, saying, "At least Cale is trying to keep us alive. Do you want us to sit here and wait to die? Or do we take a chance and fight to survive?" The group then took a vote. The majority sided with Cale, and despite her doubts, she was once again at the lead. Even the bitter girl had no choice but to go with the group. Before setting out, Cale shared vital survival tips. If a crocodile attacks, don't try to yank your limbs away. It'll only tear you apart. Instead, jam something into its mouth, cause it pain, and try to force it open. Stay above water at all costs. If it pulls you under, there's no coming back. The group fashioned makeshift weapons and set out. Following the map, they eventually reached a wide river, the only way forward. Unfortunately, the river was filled with crocodiles. To cross safely, they decided to build a raft. One of the group members asked Cale if the crocodiles would attack it. Cale explained, "They're more aggressive in colder weather, but right now it's hot. Most of them will be at the bottom of the river to cool off." As they worked on the raft, Cale's friend suddenly spotted a crocodile approaching. Panicking, she struck it with her weapon and killed it, but that act triggered a much worse response. Dozens more crocodiles swarmed in, furious. Her logic had failed. The crocodile they killed wasn't like the others. It had behaved unusually, and now they were surrounded. Without wasting another second, the group jumped onto the unfinished raft and launched it into the river, desperately trying to escape as the monstrous creatures closed in behind them. As the crocodiles entered the river to attack, the group knew just how powerful the creatures were, strong enough to flip the raft with ease. If that happened, it would be the end of all of them. Everyone was paddling frantically, trying to push the heavy raft forward. Panic set in as the weight and drag slowed them down, and it felt like death was closing in. Then, in a heartbreaking moment, the badly injured girl made a split-second decision to save everyone. She looked around at the group one last time, locked eyes with her husband, and jumped into the river. Her sacrifice stunned everyone. Her husband was devastated and tried to leap after her, but the pilot held him back, pulling him into the water to distract the crocodiles. That brief moment gave the others a chance to push forward and escape. By the time they made it across, only 5 people remained. They stumbled into a nearby building, only to discover it was an old drug lab. Pills and chemical residue covered every surface. The pilot realized this was the same place shown at the beginning of the film, where the drugs had been dumped into the water. It was these very drugs that had mutated the crocodiles into monsters. Now, the danger was twofold: mutant crocodiles and possibly armed drug mafias. The pilot warned everyone to move cautiously. But once again, the same girl who had always challenged Cale and the pilot charged ahead recklessly. The group split into pairs to search the building for anything that could help them, especially a radio to call for rescue. The pilot and one of Cale's friends followed the defiant girl. When they caught up, the pilot asked a friend to check one room while he had a private word with her. "You're selfish," he snapped. "You only think about yourself. People like you're the ones who should die first." In a shocking moment, he pushed her over the edge of a metal staircase. She grabbed the railing, hanging on for dear life. Panicked, she pleaded with the pilot, apologizing and begging him to help. The pilot started to regret his actions and reached down to help her, but before he could, a crocodile appeared from the shadows, lunged at him, and dragged him away screaming. The girl was left in shock, screaming in horror as she witnessed the pilot being killed. Her cries brought the others running. They pulled her down from the stairs, and she tearfully explained what had happened. The trauma broke her. With guilt and sorrow, she apologized to everyone, especially to Cale, for how she had treated them during the crisis. But the nightmare wasn't over. The group didn't realize the building they were in had even more crocodiles in the river. These monsters had developed an addiction to the drugs once produced here, and they had returned for more. As fear gripped the survivors, they spotted a radio in a room on the far side of the building. The only problem, it was on the other side of the sleeping crocodiles. Cale whispered, "We need to cross quietly. No noise. They're asleep, but one wrong move could wake them." They tiptoed forward in silence. But just as they were about to make it, the boy who had found the map accidentally stepped on a crocodile egg. The loud crack echoed through the room and instantly triggered chaos. The crocodile snapped awake and lunged at him. One caught him and dragged him underwater in seconds. The rest of the group sprinted into the radio room and slammed the door shut, shaken and breathless. Trapped, with no clue what to do next, panic set in again. Cale gathered her strength, pushed past the fear, and rushed to turn on the radio. Miraculously, it worked. She immediately sent a distress signal. "We're trapped. We need help. Please respond." But before any reply came through, the radio short-circuited, and their hope died with it. Silence fell. They had no way of knowing if anyone had received their message, or if rescue was even possible. One of the friends, unable to handle the tension, urged, "We have to leave. We can't stay here any longer." As soon as they stepped outside, they came face to face with the most terrifying crocodile of all, the Queen. This massive creature had a distinctive black mark on its face. The moment Cale saw it, she remembered the old man's warning. Stay away from anything with a black mark on its face. The Queen crocodile slowly approached, locking eyes with each of them. Cale's friend suddenly realized why the beast was so focused on them. She pulled the crocodile eggs from her bag, the same one she had secretly taken earlier, and placed them on the ground. But the Queen wasn't after the eggs anymore. Without hesitation, the crocodile snapped her jaws around the girl's arm, lifted her high into the air, and flung her violently against a wall. Desperate to protect herself, Cale grabbed the gun she had found earlier and fired at the crocodile, but it had no effect. Instead of retreating, the creature became even more enraged and lunged straight for Cale. Seizing the moment, the other 3 members of the group made a break for it. One of them grabbed Cale's injured friend and carried her to safety. Meanwhile, the crocodile charged at Cale, but with quick thinking, she grabbed a sharp piece of metal from the ground and stabbed the beast in the eye. The creature roared in agony and thrashed wildly, giving Cale just enough time to escape. Cale was overwhelmed with rage and grief. Everyone she had come with, her brother, her friends, was gone. She had failed them all. Consumed by guilt and sorrow, she made a bold decision. She set the entire cabin on fire, trapping the crocodiles inside. Flames engulfed the structure, and the monsters inside were burned alive. Though the group managed to escape the cabin, the danger was far from over. There were still more crocodiles lurking beyond that building. The survivors had no idea if they'd make out alive. Then, by sheer luck, a helicopter appeared in the sky. The rescue team had received the distress signal sent earlier and tracked their location. At last, the 4 remaining survivors were rescued. Weeks later, we see Kale again. She's in a much better place, physically and emotionally. She's visiting another island, this time to honor her brother's memory and find peace. Though she's alone, she seems stronger, having endured unimaginable trauma. In the post-credit scene, we return to the same cursed island, Bayo Island. Inside the very building where the queen crocodile attacked, the camera reveals a shocking twist. The pilot is still alive. His body is scarred, with deep marks from the crocodile attack, and something seems off about him. His skin looks strange. His expression is hollow. The film ends here, on this haunting mystery.